Walking along the Hudson River in New York City, it may no longer be considered strange or uncommon to spot a double-crested cormorant. The diving bird was once threatened by the use of the pesticide DDT, but their comeback, especially over the last few years, has been catching birdwatchers' attention. It doesn't take binoculars to make out the bird's distinct black, stocky bodies, striking orange-yellow throats, and particularly long necks. Leslie Day is a writer, naturalist, and science teacher. She spent much of her life bonding with the Hudson River in a unique way. She lived on a boat at the 79th Street Boat Basin in Manhattan for 30 years. I sat on a dock and talked with Day about her personal up-close experience with the double-crested cormorant. She describes the diving bird in a praising light.
They are beautiful birds. They're quite large and prehistoric looking. They have beautiful emerald green eyes.
The cormorant's green eyes aren't the only thing that makes them stand out. Unlike most birds, their wings aren't waterproof. Day says she would usually see them perched on pilings, telephone poles, light fixtures, and buoys with their wings spread out to dry off. The bird eats fish and will dive underwater for up to 3 minutes at a time. Day used to watch as the bird would disappear under her boat and come up with a big eel.
It would struggle in their gullet, and you could see it going down their esophagus.
Susan Elbin is the Director of Conservation and Science for the New York City Audubon Society. She's been researching and studying double-crested cormorants in New York Harbor for the last 7 years. She says the cormorant population had declined when the pesticide DDT was still persistent in the environment.
They had thin eggshells and couldn't incubate their young, and young would hatch with deformities when they were incubated.
The cormorants would get sick when they ate fish, about a pound a day, that were tainted by DDT. But Elbin says the Clean Air Act and the banning of DDT helped clean up the harbor, resulting in the cormorant's success. Much of what scientists and researchers in New York have learned about the double-crested cormorant comes from biologists in the Great Lakes region, where the birds have been abundant for years. They say the birds are harming vegetation. Because the birds nest in a concentrated area, the pileup of feces can cause trees to die and eventually fall over. And sport fishermen in the Great Lakes complain the birds' eating habits are wiping out their game fish. Susan Elbin says people hear about these problems in the Great Lakes and assume they're happening in New York Harbor. Efforts are underway in the Great Lakes to control the birds' impact, but Elbin says so far, her studies show there's no reason to do that here.
What we're finding is that the cormorants will eat whatever's plentiful. They're not going after the game fish.
The fact that there are fish in the Hudson for the cormorants to eat is a marvel in itself, according to Nicolette Witcher. She works at Hudson River Park on Manhattan's West Side. As vice president of their Environment and Education Unit, she's often asked by New Yorkers whether there's anything alive in the Hudson. She says now people see the shorebirds like the cormorant diving for food, and it's a great reminder the river's still alive.
I know it seems like a funny question, but it gets asked fairly frequently because there's still this mentality that the Hudson is a very dirty, polluted place and that there's just no fish in there.
Studies show there were 1,300 pair of double-crested cormorants nesting in the New York Harbor this year. I'm Marisa Galdi, WFUV News.